Hello and welcome to this video on white phosphorus. This is a chemical used with two sides, just like a coin. It is a source of obscuring smoke when burning, but also a way to produce chemical burns that go all the way through your skin. Historically, night was the worst time for a military. Soldiers could not see when patrolling. They were often sleepy, and this meant that you could stage an attack. But staging an attack or anything else during the night was difficult. This made it necessary to create something that could cover troop movements. Smoke was an option, but not ideal, as it could easily be dispersed by wind when made with conventional fuels. It was also rather difficult to move within. There was also little fuel inside of any projectiles that were deployed, and it did not last long enough. Artificial smoke was a good substitute. This is where white phosphorus comes in. It's something that reacts readily with oxygen and produces a dense, long-lasting smoke screen. This screen's movement, marks locations, and more. It's able to convert most of the mass and turn everything around it into an obscured location. This means that you get maximum benefit for troops you're trying to hide or places you're trying to mark, because it blocks out all vision. Second to that, the particles are just the right size that they block all visible light. This means you can try and use it to block your movement visually, but still keep electronic monitoring effective. Because it is so efficient for how much mass is deployed, it's used for creating smoke. It's particularly suitable where weight is an extremely important factor. Think of things like hand grenades, mortar bombs, and more. These are small, man-portable devices which can be deployed in an emergency. That's one of the important factors of this. They are very small, very portable, but very effective. Within seconds, you will have a thick cloud of makeshift smoke going. The other key factor is the munitions being used don't need a lot of the fuel they'll be going to work with, primarily because the way the munition works is that it has a small charge within it that blows up and it deploys the pyrophoric white phosphorus. These small fragments react with the air around them by igniting spontaneously, and this means that your small explosive can spread out the smoke cloud over a wide area. The question is, what is white phosphorus? White phosphorus is a colorless to white and sometimes even yellow solid. It has a weird odor, almost like garlic, and that's because of the phosphor content. It's made by taking phosphate rocks and breaking them down to create the phosphate alone. This phosphorus compound will react readily with any atmospheric oxygen and immediately catch fire. This will occur at anything above 10 degrees room temperature. That's a tiny amount of difference. When phosphorus burns, it does two things. The first is its reaction that begins the process. This takes diphosphorus and oxygen and turns it into tetraphosphorus dicoxide. The second is how it begins to spread out that smoke. The compound we've just mentioned, diphosphorus pentoxide, is extremely hygroscopic and it will absorb small amounts of moisture, and this will continue the reaction. The reaction will keep on going until all the material is burnt up. This is where the controversy around white phosphorus as a war crime comes into play. We mentioned how you have a small charge within it that blows it up and sends small particles of white phosphorus out, and these begin reacting with the oxygen. The problem is if they hit someone or something before they've completed their reaction and have used up all of the white phosphorus. This turns them into small burning rocks that will keep on burning on anything and anyone they hit. This is where some of the international laws come into play, and especially those that may regulate white phosphorus. Article 1, Protocol 3 of the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons defines any weapon or munition which is primarily designed to set fire to objects or cause burn injury to persons through the action of flame, heat, or combination thereof. Effectively, what a flamethrower or napalm would do. That's why, theoretically, white phosphorus isn't allowed to be used. The same protocol means you're not supposed to use things that cause flammable effects on civilian populations. Admittedly, something already banned by the Geneva Convention, but the Geneva Convention hasn't exactly proven very binding in some cases. The problem is, theoretically, this is going to be covered by Article 1 of Protocol 3 of the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons. There is a big caveat carved out, and that is incandescent particles cast off, those are the flaming bits of white phosphorus, are not used for their purposes of being flammable, at least not officially. Considering that they can burn right the way through someone's flesh, that's a very good thing. The problem is, it does stick extremely well to people, and it's often used to cover troop movements. This is why white phosphorus carries a very high risk of mortality when used, especially in areas where there are living people. If that does happen, the white phosphorus can more or less keep on burning until it is deprived of oxygen or completely used up in its reaction. As you can imagine, if you're the military using this and you're trying to protect yourself from other combatants, if you're fighting in an urban environment or similar, this can prove very fatal very quickly. White phosphorus has seen use in many urban environments full of civilians. It is also being used in sites where incidental exposure occurs. Outside of this, white phosphorus is used in active battlefields and training exercises. This is used for its primary purpose, creating smoke, but all of the other occasions where it can and often is used can lead to unintended consequences. This is recognized in many military manuals, where they identify that its application can be as a weapon or as a defensive tool of sorts. Thank you for watching this video. If you have found it interesting, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Please post any comments, questions, or suggestions that you have below.